We are back, and summer vacation is all but over. Eddie Garrison is across the way. I am Kevin Bowen. This is Colts Corner with Kevin Bowen. And as we sit here on this Tuesday late morning, Eddie, 1 week from today, will be at Grand Park. Colts will be reporting to training camp. They will have their first practice Wednesday. They actually practice a lot that first week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning, late Saturday afternoon. Sunday is an off day. We'll hear from Chris Ballard a week from today. That's always a very popular session to start training camp. And then really Shane Steichen takes the central organizational voice from then on the rest of the season. Position battles, that's what we'll get to on today's podcast. Looking forward to that. A couple fun Twitter questions as always. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Did you enjoy your week off last week?
I did, yes. Up in northern Michigan, just south of Traverse City. At a family reunion on my wife's side, about 50 of us out there.
Where is Traverse City?
Played elite level bocce ball. Shout out to David Cheeseman, bocce ball extraordinaire. Traverse City is probably 6 hours from here. 5 and change. Probably 6. I mean, think, I don't know if you're looking at Michigan. How do they describe Michigan? What is it, the shape of a boot or something?
A mitten?
Mitten, is that what it is?
Indiana would be a boot, right?
Indiana would be the boot. Well, yeah, kind of a rugged boot, which I guess kind of fits us. Yeah, I mean, due north from here, really. Like 31, honestly, is one of the highways you get on relatively quickly. So when you think about it, 31 is bisecting our great city, Meridian Street. So yeah, it's not really that far off from a latitude standpoint. It's just way, way up there. So fun time, great weather. Kids loved it. And I'm a man of habit and routine, though, so I'm glad to be back at the same time.
Now that the season's rolling around, Kevin, are we going to start getting into a habit/routine with the pods?
Well, certainly more frequent pods. I hate to say, though, there'll be any consistent cadence in terms of the days just because you're kind of at the mercy of training camp schedule. But we will definitely probably start to have at least weekly pods, if not twice a week. So look for that. Obviously, we'll have daily notebook recaps up on the website, 1075thefan.com. And this time of year, I know we did our indispensable Colts last pod, and today we'll get into position battles because I think there are several on each side of the ball, some bigger than others, some maybe a little bit more open than others, and there's a huge one at kicker as well. So always look forward to kind of getting into these sorts of things that you start to look at a depth chart and say, okay, what's in Sharpie and what's not? And basically the ones we'll go over today, these are in pencil. Maybe some might be viewed in pen, but they certainly are not written in Sharpie yet, so we'll focus on that today. Probably come with a pod next Tuesday. I think anytime Ballard speaks, it's good to chat about it, so we'll keep you posted on that. But if you're ready, man, let's get into it.
Outside of the 5 that we will dive into and focus on, Kev, were there any honorable mention position battles?
You could probably get into, like, what does the tight end playing time look like? That was one that I pondered, but like to me, I wanted to kind of stick with like true sort of 22 starters. How do you look at it? I guess we do have defensive end on here. That could be maybe viewed like tight end. Like, you're going to play a good amount of tight ends, but again, how does it look? Is Tyler Warren playing 70% of the snaps? That's a big number for a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Big number for a Colts tight end. So is that going to be there? But yeah, for the most part, I didn't really have too much of a debate. I thought these stood out, and again, there's some balance on each side of the ball. One might be in question how much of a position battle it is. I didn't have it as a position battle maybe in March, but after watching the spring, I have one now.
Yeah, that second and third tight end spot for me is one that I was going to monitor as well, just because you bring back Mo Cox, you still have Andrew Ogletree, whatever they think of Jelani Woods and Will Mallory. So we will start with the Colts.
Let me just throw in one quick thing on that. I know the Colts have some questions about Tyler Warren as a blocker. So, like, do you try to hide that at all, or do you just say screw it?
Right.
That would be a little bit of a tight end question.
Let's just address the elephant in the room, quarterback. That's number one, and that is the one that is going to have everyone's attention, not even just here locally. Talking with Stephen Holder a little bit as well, he said from the national perspective that his bosses at ESPN are even asking about this, so it should be very interesting.
Yeah, and I think we've transitioned a little bit on. Sorry, we're potty training Max, and I saw he just peed on the toilet at daycare, so I'm texting Maddie saying that's a good thing.
On it or in it?
Yeah, if he's a male, probably a little bit on it, but hopefully in it. for all of our sake there. This position battle has evolved a little bit in that I think right now Daniel Jones is in a firmer position as the team's starting quarterback. He took, 70, 80% of those spring reps. Now the question becomes, how quickly does this get to be real again? Does it get to be real again? By all accounts, Anthony Richardson's in a good position come next week. Okay? What does that mean? You have 4 straight days of practice starting next Wednesday. Is he throwing every day? Is there a progression? Does he throw whatever? 10 balls on Wednesday, and then by Saturday, he's full throttle? And then that means you go off day Sunday, you come back on Monday. So does that mean Monday, July 28th? Is that now a competition for a full week? I think that is vital for Richardson, because then that following week, the first full week of August, that's when you play a preseason game. That's when you only have one practice, the joint session with the Ravens. So, I just think Shane Steichen's got a decision to make here. Did he like what he saw from Jones enough to say, you know what? I need to commit to even more reps for him. We can drop him in the middle of the lake and he can keep us afloat. Whereas if we drop Richardson in the middle of the lake, I'm afraid we don't get back to shore. I think that's a little bit of the debate that Shane Steichen has to have. Now, again, if they want to have a true competition and they'll continue to preach that, then at some point Richardson will get back to full throttle and we'll have a competition. But as of right now, I think Daniel Jones, if I still had a bet on it, I would say Daniel Jones is your week 1 starter. And we'll see how quickly that becomes a real competition here. We did this exercise on our morning show today where, we kind of get into the Colts that have the most pressure on them. We did our indispensable list, and Eddie, you and I both said it's never a good thing when we both make our list and we didn't even think about quarterback.
Right.
Well, when you talk about most pressure, James Boyd on our morning show, he had the quarterbacks 1-2.
Yeah.
I had him 1-4. I mean, you could easily, I saw James out totally. I can see why you'd have Richardson and Jones 1-2, but it is worth repeating with Richardson. I know it's not top of mind for a lot of people right now, but this is the final year of no financial decisions.
Yep.
Now you have entered that phase. And just to remind everybody, that would be the 5th year team option. He is under contract through 2026, no matter what. Not a huge pay raise in 2026, but 2027, it would jump big time. We still don't have official numbers on that. But Kenny Pickett, for example, the Browns declined the team option on him. I think that was like $22 million. And he was what, the 21st pick? He wasn't the 4th pick.
Right.
So that number will be even greater for Richardson. So, blank is real. Well, yeah, no duh, Kevin. Of course, blank is real for Anthony Richardson, but it's real financially now for the first time in his NFL career. So that's something that's worth pointing out as well.
Who were the 5 that had the most pressure in your eyes? Who'd you go with?
I went with Richardson, Jones, Charvarius Ward, Latu, and Kwity Paye.
Interesting.
Ward, to me, you're the highest paid free agent the franchise has had. I get that off the field issues were, I can't even imagine going through that with his daughter last season. His own play, he would say, though, is not at the level that he wanted. He wants to get back to 2023 him. So I think you add up all of that. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot to prove. You can call it 2 things. You can call it most pressure, most to prove. Latu, I think it's rather self-explanatory. And then Paye's in a contract year. To me, pressure comes with price tag. And I view price tags and how much did they spend to get you and how high did they draft you. And that 5-person list I had has 4 first-round picks and then Ward. So, that impacts a whole lot. I can listen to an A.D. Mitchell. I can listen to a Juju Brents. I can listen to a Jalen Carlies. Mark Dykton, our producer, threw out Tanner Bortolini. Spencer Schrader has a lot of pressure on him. But to me, there's a little bit of like, wait a minute. There needed to be also some pre-responsibility, if that makes sense.
What about Bernhard Raimann entering contract year?
Yeah, but I think he's proven himself enough that I don't like. To me, a level of pressure is also there's a level of question about your own play,
right? And
I don't have that with Raimann. That indispensable, yes. And I did the exercise, but pressure, not as much.
Number 2, if I had to ask you this, you mentioned Tanner Bortolini. Is he the one that will be snapping to whomever is taking the first 7-on-7 or 11-on-11 rep at training camp next Wednesday?
I would say yes, but then I think on Thursday it'll be Danny Pinter. And then on Friday it'll be Bortolini. And then on Saturday it'll be Pinter. And then we kind of reset.
Mm-hmm.
Again, full pads don't come on until what? Probably Saturday is that first practice. So to me, this is probably the most like one-on-one battle and like legitimately even. The interesting thing about Pinter, Eddie, is like, he missed that full year with the ankle injury a couple years ago. Every other year, though, he started a game in the NFL. And, as much as Bortolini was viewed as, hey, you draft a center in round 4, you expect that dude to be center of the future. I have certainly said that, and I agree with that. Eddie, they drafted Danny Pinter in round 5. It's not like there was a huge difference between, round 4 and round 5. Granted, this regime, i.e. Steichen, i.e. Sperano, they drafted Bortolini. But, yeah, I view center as a very head-to-head battle and probably the closest one-on-one battle of any on this list.
Interesting. I know we've talked about quarterback and the depth of quarterback. Obviously, there's Tarvarius Ward starting number 1. For you, as the top 5 position battles, you listed third cornerback, so you've got Jalen Jones sharpied in as CB2?
Well, no, I have Tarvarius Ward and Kenny Moore as the top 2 corners.
I guess I should have said on outside corner, but yeah.
Yeah, who rounds out the nickel package? Not plain nickel, but who rounds it out? Obviously, Kenny Moore is playing nickel. And Eddie, this is the one that I'll go back on and say, I didn't have this on my radar at the start of the spring.
Is it because of the impressive play of Justin Wally that you saw?
That has something to do with it. And then also Jalen Jones did miss the final couple weeks of the spring. And I think we have to keep in mind with anything defensively related, and that goes with labeling Kwity Paye as having pressure on him, labeling Laiatu Latu as having pressure on him. Who are the guys that Lou Anarumo doesn't know?
Mm-hmm.
Justin Wally, they drafted. They liked what they saw in the spring. That's an Anarumo guy.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Jones is not. So that's where we get into just some of this.
Also a Ballard guy.
Right. We just have to remind ourselves with some of these defensive personnel, it's now new eyes. It's a new decision maker, and I don't want to act like Anarumo's a sole decision maker, but he has a large voice. So I still don't know if it is a battle, but I have it on the list.
Right.
I think Jalen Jones played a ton of snaps for you last year, and I think I've removed him like, oh wow, he's a nice find as a 7th round pick, to like, oh no, I think he's like a nice corner.
Mm-hmm.
So Jones, Wally, I guess Juju Brents, I don't, it's probably premature to say that, but I guess, is this an actual competition? So I still think Jalen Jones would win this, but it's one that I'm going to add on the list.
3, priority position groups are on this list of 5. We've talked about 2 of them. Let's get to the third, defensive end.
Yeah, to me, Eddie, when you get into DN, kind of like tight end, we talked about at the start, it's what's the playing time? Probably Kwity Paye and Laiatu Latu play the most.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where's Samson Ebukam off the Achilles? Is Taekwon Lewis playing end snaps? Is he in like the Dayo Adangbo type of mold from last year? When healthy, Taekwon Lewis produces. And then you talk about Lou Anarumo guys, they did draft JT Tuimalo out in the 2nd round.
Yep.
And also, that man produced at the Ohio State on a playoff team. This is not like that SEC pass rusher that had 2 sacks in his career but ran 4.4 at his pro day. No. Tuimalo is supposed to be pretty ready. So, we'll see. To me, it has a lot more to do with playing time. Those are 5 names, and just how you divvy it up will be something that I'm going to be watching for.
And finally, kicker.
It's a battle, I guess, and it's a battle of youth, but I think Spencer Schrader's the definite favorite. Again, I wrote a kicker piece up on the website, 1075thefan.com, a few weeks ago. Just kind of.
And you're not talking about like a silly story, are you?
No, I'm talking a legitimate. Yeah. They want the big leg and they want strong mental makeup. Spencer Schrader's wired very, very differently. He's businessman and super, super faith-oriented and uber positive, and he's just different. And how all of that looks and plays out I think the Colts are really, really high on him. I think people would be stunned to realize how high they are on him. I mean, I guess the cutting of Matt Gay probably told you everything you needed to do, but Maddox, Trujillo, I feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong. Somebody reached out to me and said I was pronouncing it wrong. What would you go with?
I don't know. I need to ask Matt Taylor. Matt Taylor probably knows already.
Yeah. Well, he's the undrafted kid out of Temple, and he's got the big leg. And he made the kicks in front of us, for what it's worth. I think it might have been the only kicking session there. So, again, I still think he's got to do a lot to supplant Schrader, but kicker is a battle.
Let's get to Twitter questions if you're ready, Kevin.
Yes, I'm very much ready.
Starting with Tom, what are your thoughts on the right guard spot? From what it sounds like, they drafted Jalen Travis as a developmental tackle, a Blake Freeland replacement, if you may, but didn't address the interior offensive line in the draft or through unrestricted free agency, or I shouldn't say unrestricted free agency, undrafted rookie free agents so far. What do you make of that? Does that indicate them being high on Matt Gonzalez and or Dalton Tucker at right guard? Also, I noticed that the Colts list Tanner Bortolini as a guard on their website. Could they be projecting him more as a guard than a center? Don't know if I feel comfortable going into the season with Danny Pinter or Wesley French at center.
Well, let's start with guard. I mean, they view Matt Gonzalez as a guard. Like, the reason why they went with Tucker last year was because of in-season reps. Tucker had been drilling there for throughout the offseason, in-season as well. So when Will Fries went down, that's why they went with Tucker. Whereas Gonzalez had pretty much been exclusively out of tackle. But I think moving forward, I don't view Matt Gonzalez as potentially the future for Braden Smith. I think he's like the right guard of the future. So is that good news for Jalen Travis? Is that good news for Blake Freeland? Having a last chance? Who knows? But yeah, I mean, they didn't have a vet at right guard or linebacker. When you think back to the entire offseason, how many mock drafts did we look at, Eddie, where we thought, hey, Carson Schlesinger, who I do think they liked, or what was the big kid from Alabama, Booker. There were a lot of debate, at guard or linebacker in round 1 or 2, and hell, they didn't draft any, right?
Nope.
And even their undrafted class didn't have much, especially at guard. But
that's why they made my indispensable Colts list, specifically Quentin Nelson.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. Center, though, again, I think that is a true battle. So right guard, to me, I don't see it as much of a battle. Center, though, is a little bit more of a truer battle. And they view now, when Gonzalez returned here in the spring, it was, you are now a guard. So I think the, 5-6 month focus of a guard versus you would have had to have moved him in season last year as a rookie is different.
Colton wonders, KB, if the Colts had a top 15 quarterback, then are we talking about a Super Bowl team this year? This seems like one of the better rosters on paper the Colts have had in a while.
Well, I guess, how do you define Super Bowl team?
It's a good question.
If I'm sitting here with a top 10 quarterback, I'd like to think I've got a chance to win the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
So, I don't know. No division title in 10 years, one playoff win in 10 years. It's hard for me to just kind of label it that. And then I guess the question for me, Colton, would be like, what's the Colts defense?
Mm-hmm.
They were one of the worst scoring defenses in the league
mm-hmm.
in the last 3 years. Has that all changed? Did the defensive coordinator change that? Did Travaris Ward and Cameron Bynum change that? I think we forget a little bit, like, the defense needs to make a jump as well. So, yeah, I don't. This seems like one of the better teams on paper. I guess you could point to some of that. I get that the whiteout group is better. How do you view O-line? I think O-line is such an interesting one. Is it still really, really good? It's the first time they've had to replace 2 starters in their O-line in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
There were probably people last year that thought Ryan Kelly to Tanner Bortolini or Danny Pinter wasn't that big of a drop-off. Was it or was it not? So I just think those are some of the questions that I would have coming into it. But I don't know. It probably is one of the better rosters, but to call it a Super Bowl team, I mean, quarterback can cover up. I mean, last year the Colts quarterback play was 30th in the NFL, 31st in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping all the way up to top 15. I'm trying to look at a list of rank the top 15 quarterbacks in the league. Who is a good quarterback on a bad team?
A good quarterback on a bad team?
Yeah. To me, it almost sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it?
I think he's the second best quarterback in the NFL, but he's not a bad team, Joe Burrow.
Yeah, but are they really bad? Or was last year just the defensive outlier?
Well, let me ask you this. If Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson are in Cincinnati, you think they're even threatening to make the playoffs?
Right. Yeah. I hear you there. I mean, weren't the Bengals I don't know, in the AFC title game or in the Super Bowl relatively recently? I'm literally scoring through the standings right now. And I'm who was a good I guess in years past you might have said Justin Herbert with the Chargers? Would you have said that?
Maybe.
But again, I'm going through it. I'm who was good, but their team is Kyler Murray and the Cardinals? Is Kyler Murray good? It's such a weird exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess to answer the question, Colton, if you have a top 15 quarterback, you're probably thinking you're a Super Bowl caliber team, or have the potential to, get hot. How many teams make the playoffs? 14 of them.
Jordan Love. I don't know. Green Bay's still good because of.
Yeah, I was gonna say Green Bay's good, right? I don't know.
Matt LaFleur. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a tough one to crack there, Kevin.
Yeah, it is.
2 questions left. Mason states, I am in agreement with you that the 3 position groups that Mason has as the biggest question marks entering the year are linebacker, guard, and safety. However, if he was making a list of NFL positions from most to least important, these 3 would probably be in the bottom 5, with quarterback, pass rusher, and left tackle at the top of Mason's list. Between free agency and the draft misses, Chris Ballard has done a poor job evaluating and acquiring talent in the top tier position groups. Has Ballard changed his process in prioritization, or is this just how the cookie crumbled this year? Knowing that it's near impossible to have quality players at all 22 positions, is this year's roster a good problem to have as opposed to years past?
I guess this is asking for a deep dive on the Ballard draft history. So as I pull that up, Eddie, let's do this. I'll call top 3 round picks premium. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So in each draft, Quincy Wilson and Basham. Then the next year, I guess you'd say what? Kamoko Toure and you call Tyquan Lewis 1. The next draft, Rock Yassin, Ben Banogu, Paris Campbell. Boy, I just see misses galore in those first couple drafts. Michael Pittman Jr., definitely a hit. Kwity Paye, Dayo Dengbo, are we still flipping coins there?
Mm-hmm.
Alec Pierce, I think, is trending to be a hit. Bernard Ryman might be Ballard's best draft pick ever. You consider the round, you consider the position. Anthony Richardson, Juju Brents, obviously not trending very well. Josh Downs trending well. So, yeah, I mean, I would say early on you got a lot of, you got what? You missed 6 of the first 7 swings at premium positions. Wilson, Basham, Toure. Did I see Toure get in a fight at a Canadian Football League game? Did I see that?
I don't know. I did not see that.
Maybe it wasn't Canadian Football League, but it was some league. He came out gunning. Absolutely gunning. So, yeah, I would say misses there. I mean, if you look at the 2018 draft, you go guard right away. You went linebacker with Leonard, and then, guard was the thought with Braden Smith before he was out there. So, I don't think, I mean, has Ballard changed his process in prioritizing positions, or is this just how the cookie crumbled? I think it's more the latter. again, early on, I would have liked to have seen maybe even more focus on the premium positions, but the same thing could be said when he did swing, he just missed flat out. I mean, 2017, 2018, 2019, there are, if you want to count it, and, you can probably split hairs a little bit, you could count 7 swings at premium positions, and I count 6 misses. I mean, hell, it could be, well, I don't know. Taekwon Lewis, I would count as a hit, although not, a triple or a homer. So, yeah, even early on, there were just misses flat out.
Final question, KB. This is a fun one from Sam. Name the 5 best individual performances you've seen in a Colts game. It could be a Colts player or an opponent.
Oh, man, that's a great one.
There's 2 that come to mind for me.
Okay, what immediately comes to mind to you?
For me, it's the 5 touchdown game for Jonathan Taylor against Buffalo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The other one would be the Andrew Luck playoff game against Kansas City for the comeback.
Yeah, you could go T.Y. in that game as well. Obviously, the T.Y. games in Houston, I thought about. Shaq Leonard against the Commanders.
Yeah.
That would have been his second overall game when he had, 19 tackles. I always think about Reggie against the Packers with the orange gloves. Chuck with leukemia that first game. I think an underrated Taylor game, and unfortunately gets remembered for 4th and 1, Minshew to Goodson. I thought he was so freaking good.
That Week 18 game against
finale,
Houston.
Yeah, win the division game against the Texans. So those are probably some of the Colt individual games. Boy, opponent. I mean, I'm going way back, but I remember Brandon Marshall. I don't know if it still is the NFL record, but he set the NFL record for most catches in a game.
I think it is.
Is this where I answer the joke and say every quarterback who faced a Gus Bradley defense?
Yeah, Brandon Marshall. Yeah, he still has the record. Terrell Owens second. Keenan Allen at 18 a couple years ago.
I mean, I remember Drew Brees on Monday Night Football. Remember when he completed every ball but one?
Was that he set a record in that game?
Yeah.
What record was it?
Highest completion percentage.
Well, no, there was a record within the game that he was chasing.
Maybe most consecutive passes.
I don't know. Was it?
I don't know if the stat line backed it up, but I thought when the Browns came in here and beat the Colts a couple years ago, I thought Myles Garrett just wrecked the game. Remember when he had the blocked field goal?
Yes. I watched that happen. I was like, ugh. That was that crazy game, wasn't it?
Yeah, PJ Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah. The flags that went against the Colts there late in that game. And the other one I would say is, was it Thanksgiving night? For some reason, I feel like it was. Maybe it was Sunday Night Football when Jonas Gray. Remember Jonas Gray?
Yes.
Notre Dame guy?
From
Patriots?
Yeah.
Ran all over the Colts.
It was like 300 yards, right?
It probably felt like that. Obviously, people will remember the Jacksonville game during the Super Bowl run of getting ran all over. I don't think I was individually as much as it was just any Jags running back there, but yeah, that is that's wild.
Fred Taylor,
Jones Drew. Was it Alvin Pierman? Maybe I don't know. Somebody else as well. You got anything?
I have nothing else.
He is Eddie Garrison. I'm Kevin Bowen. Again next week. Report day. First off, we got content all up on the website this week. 107.5 The Fan, and we'll obviously have you covered from a training camp point of view. He is Eddie Garrison. I am Kevin Bowen. Everybody have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week from Grand Park.